And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined with my co-host, Donny Nadeau. Donny is the Sports Information Director at St. Mary's. And this fine young man joining us is our head soccer coach at St. Mary's for the men's soccer team, Corbin Bowers. Corbin, thanks for joining us here on the Cardinals Nest today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, this is your first official appearance on the Cardinals Nest, isn't
Correct.
it? You are a first-year head coach for St. Mary's, so welcome. It's great to have you. And maybe tell us, let us get to know you a little bit more. Tell us where you're from, how you got started in soccer, and then how you eventually came to St. Mary's, which we know was an assistant coach. But how did you find your way to Winona in the first place?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a long story, but I was born in Quito, Ecuador, and my parents are missionaries overseas, and so they moved to South America a long time ago. Lived in Ecuador for a few years and then moved to Bogota, Colombia, which I consider my hometown. Lived there until my senior year of high school, and I knew I wanted to become a college athlete in the U.S., and I moved to Anderson, South Carolina to play soccer there at a Division II school. And after a few years of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my kinesiology degree, my head coach said I should give coaching a try, and I was a director of soccer ops there with them. And after that, they wanted me to find a full-time job in another division program, and I moved here to Winona as an assistant coach in the spring of last year, and did a season with the guys as an assistant coach, and took over as head coach in January.
So it's safe to say you're from the South, right? South America, and then the southern part of the United States. So what do you think of all of this north stuff, the cold and the wind and everything?
I think the biggest transition has been the winter. I never experienced one before, and last year was a rude awakening, and people have warned me that it was kind of a light winter. So
yeah, and the sad part is that was a tame winter compared to what we have had in the past. Coach, can we talk on the field? Talk a little bit about probably the biggest challenge you've had as a head coach, being this your first time as a head coach. What has been the biggest challenge for you in that position?
I think the biggest challenge for me has been instilling a new way of playing. So my assistant, Chris Gaskin, and I kind of came together and decided with the players we had what kind of style of soccer we wanted to play, and it's turned out to be different than we were playing last year. And so making sure that the guys are playing the way we want them to play and the way they expressed wanting to play. There's been games where we've kind of fallen back to old habits from last year, and really hammering in that style of play that we want to express this year on the field, I think, has been the challenge as a first-year head coach.
So how would you describe that style? And after that, maybe talk about your decision to develop that style, because is it based on the strengths of you and Chris and your past and background knowledge, or is it based off of the skills and strengths of this year's players?
Sure. I think if you were to describe our style of play, it's getting forward very quickly, very dynamic, a style of attack. We've built our back line quite solidly from goalkeeper all the way through the back four, but then trying to get the ball forward as quickly as possible through our midfield, getting out wide and creating as many chances as possible. And I think when we looked at the team, we decided these are the strengths of our players, and we can really create a style based off of them. And so Chris and I spent the whole summer studying what we thought was the best formation and style of play, and kind of combining my strengths as a natural attacker, Chris's as a defender, into creating a style that we thought would be the best to express to our players.
So you were one of those that got all of the attention, and Chris is one of those that probably didn't get as much, which leads me to my question. Talk a little bit about your defensive players, starting with the goalkeepers. You got two very solid goalies in Alberto Centeno and Nate Levy, and now Jimmy Peralta got into the last game against Morris, did a nice job. But your defenders don't necessarily always get the credit they deserve, and this year's team really is extremely solid defensively.
I think so. Even though I played as a forward, I thought, as a coach, I really want us to be solid at the back. That's going to help us win more games, win more titles and stuff like that. And so we've spent a lot of time working one-on-one with our defenders. The great thing is we go out to practice early with the goalkeepers and do 45-minute sessions with them, and all four, from Nate to Alberto, Jimmy, and Mike, have pushed each other to the limit every day. So we have four very capable goalkeepers. Any of them can step in and play a role for us. And our back line's been absolutely solid this year. We've made some tweaks to our back line, but I think all four guys that are transitioning in there have done a solid job. Chris Beiersdorf is kind of the silent one there, where he's had a very, very solid season. I think his best one so far. And it's not flashy, but he gets the job done defensively. But we have guys coming off the bench that contribute as well. And so we're able to mix up our lineup in the back and be very solid.
So let's talk about this year's team and record. You're above 500 overall as we talk here. So tell us about how things have gone so far this year and how that has met or exceeded your expectations.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. We started off 4 wins in a row and then lost 5 in a row, and now we're on a 2-game winning streak. So we've been through the highs and lows already in the middle of the season, and we got off to a very, very good offensive start. And I think teams started scouting us and making tweaks against us, and we played 2 very good teams in St. Thomas and North Park, and just got challenged by some very good national ranked opponents. And it's been great. The guys have adjusted to all kinds of adversity that they've faced, and that's been the big thing we've said. Follow the little steps will get the job done, but be ready to face some adversity this year, and how are we going to respond to that?
I got to think that with being a first-year coach, coming into a program that had the senior leadership that you did inherit has got to be a plus as well. And we'll bring Sean Butcher on in the second segment, obviously one of those seniors. But talk a little bit about their role and what they've meant to this team this year.
I think the leadership and the culture of our team has changed 180 degrees. The guys have come in and really developed that sense of family, that sense of team, and everybody buys into their role. And our leaders, whether they're wearing a captain's armband or not, have been very important in making sure the team is tight-knit and that everybody's pushing towards the same objective at the end of the year. And we could name all the leaders, but I think they've all done a cohesive job of working together.
You know, you mentioned the roller coaster part of this year, and really, it really has been. How have you been able to keep that even keel? Because, you know, it's great when you're 4-0, but then all of a sudden it was 4-1, 4-2, 4-4, 4-5. How do you make sure that they're able to not panic and realize that you're going to right that ship and get it back going the right direction?
Yeah, we tell our guys that the college soccer season is a marathon, not a sprint. So you got to be able to endure all kinds of different things that are thrown at you, and even though you may lose 5 in a row and be at 9 games in, there's still another 9 to play, and how we adjust to that. And we've won 2 in a row, and we're looking to add to that on Friday. I think it's just realizing that there's still a lot to play for in this tight period of time, and that at the end of the day we know what our objectives are, and if we wake up and go to every session and put the work in towards those objectives, we're going to be able to ride any kind of storm that's thrown at us.
Now, when you're talking with a prospective student, recruit, maybe some of the questions they might ask might be, what's your style as a head coach? How would you describe your style as a head coach?
I think I'm very, very studious of the game, and so I try to teach guys what I've learned through the game. So we spend a lot of time studying film, watching training sessions, professional sessions, and then instilling that into our players. So we do a lot of one-on-one attention. We split into functional groups, which has been something new we've done this year, where Coach Chris will take the defenders, I'll take the forwards, somebody else will take the midfielders, and we work very personalized training sessions with the guys and then come together at the end. So very, very dynamic coach, student of the game, and teaching them all the different scenarios they can experience in the game of soccer.
You know, where I work during a game is pretty much right next to you on the sidelines. And as you're instructing some of your players, I have no idea what you're saying because you're saying it in a different language. Can you talk a little bit about your bilingual, but using that to the advantage of some of our international students and players that we have on our team?
Absolutely. So I know how comfortable people can be when you're speaking to them in their native tongue, and with me being fluent in Spanish, having grown up on Spanish, to speak to our guys that speak Spanish and speak to them about soccer in Spanish, I think it makes them very comfortable. On the field, they realize that somebody's got their back from their home culture. They can speak to them in a language that they maybe understand even more so in soccer. And it's also just gamemanship, trying to keep teams distracted to what's going on and throwing something out in Spanish that they may not understand what it is. And we're even teaching our guys that don't speak Spanish different words in Spanish to use in our common culture language. And I think the guys enjoy it. They love it, being able to speak to me in Spanish, and it helps in all aspects of the program.
Do you ever yell at Sean in Spanish so he doesn't know what you're saying? Sean Butcher will have on next. But
I don't think I've ever done that, but Sean and I will sometimes have text conversations or conversations in Spanish at practice to test him and see where he's at.
All right,
so he fancies himself a Spanish speaker.
how do you like the recruiting aspect of it? Now, I'm sure you did some of that as an assistant coach, but now there's more ownership of it, of course. So tell us your thoughts on recruiting.
It's actually right now one of my favorite parts, is being able to go and watch lots and lots of soccer all across the state, all across the country, and find the players that we think are an adequate fit. And it's a challenge to find the adequate fit for St. Mary's and our program and our soccer team. Can they fit in with the guys? Are they going to fit in with the coaching staff? So it's a unique challenge in college athletics, and I really enjoy getting to watch different styles of soccer all across the country.
So, some of the sports teams occasionally will do a postseason trip, or maybe sometimes even an in-season trip. Anything in store, maybe down to South America or something?
Yeah,
for
we've talked to the
team?
guys about going to maybe Europe next summer, and even South America. Some of the guys want to go and see Colombia, where I grew up. We've talked about Brazil as well. So definitely, from my international background, I think it's really important to show our guys what the rest of the world looks like out there and experience not only a different soccer culture, but a different culture in general.
Now, if you need any webcasters on those trips, I know two really good ones who would love to accompany.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you knew this, Dean, but Corbin actually has a nickname. I know when he played, it was El Diablo. Well, now he's the silent assassin.
And that's because?
I refuse to.
You refuse
That's
to
up
say
to him.
So, but Corbin, I'm sure, how would you just sort of summarize so far, and again, the season's still going on here, but your first year as head coach, if you had to kind of take a look back and reflect right now?
It's been a great experience. Even as a staff, we've hit highs and lows during the season, but being able to go out every day and be a part of the game we both love as a staff is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. I've told the guys at games that my favorite part of the day is going out and coaching them and working on stuff with them, and when we have individuals, working with them. So it's been a very exciting season. I'm happy at the point where we are now, but there's so many games left to play. I think our guys are really pushing to make conference tournament, which is our big, huge overall goal. And every day that I can go out there and push them and challenge them to reach that goal is very fulfilling to me.
Good. Keep pushing forward. Corbin Bowers, thanks for being on the program
Thanks
today.
for having
Good luck
me.
here the rest of the season.
Thank you.
And Sean Butcher, a senior from the men's soccer team, is on the program next here on HBC's Cardinals Nest.
Good luck with the family. I'm home.
Oh, hi.
Where is everyone?
They're still here. I just gave everyone the HBC Wi-Fi password.
Stream like a hero. Only HBC has the fastest in-home Wi-Fi, where multiple users can download and upload, share files, and stream audio and video simultaneously.
What's a Southern girl? It's waking up before the sun rises. It's loving the simple things in life like the dirt roads that lead you home. It's working hard to get what you want. It's hanging your own stands, breaking your own ground, and strategizing every little move for that one moment when everything you've worked for is standing right in front of you. Even if I fail a million times, I keep pushing myself till I'm exhausted, filthy, and about to give up. And that's when the adrenaline hits.
NASCAR racing is about a whole lot more than just cars going around a track. It's about people who drive, people who engineer, people who plan, people who know how to put it all together. Meet the people who make the cars go round every week on Raceline. Watch Raceline here every week.
In the Big Ten, you're always under attack. No matter where you look, the competition is fierce. Every inch, every yard, every game
Touchdown, Buckeye!
is taken by force. But you like it this way.
There it is! Touchdown! Wow!
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Joining us is Sean Butcher from the men's soccer team. Sean is a senior this year. This is the guy Coach Bowers yells at in Spanish when he's out on the field, just so he doesn't know what he's getting yelled at about.
Yeah, that's why.
Sean, you're a senior, we said, and from Cave Creek, Arizona, right?
Yep,
So
that's right.
tell us a little bit about Cave Creek, where it's at there in Arizona, and how you got into soccer.
Absolutely. Cave Creek, it's hot. It's like everything else in Arizona. It's pretty north Scottsdale, so a lot of people know that better. It's a little in there. And as far as soccer, I kind of grew up with soccer. Typically just kind of started playing when I was 3, fell in love with the game. My older sister played soccer, so I kind of followed her footsteps. She went and played at a D3 school, so that's kind of where I knew I was going to go D3 and found my place at St. Mary's.
How did you find that? How did St. Mary's come on the map from somebody from Cave Creek?
Yeah, and since Arizona's kind of hot and weirder, in the winter is when we have our soccer season for high school. So there's a lot of college showcases, so college coaches go to those showcases to go watch players play and see if they can get recruited from there. So in my winter showcase is where Coach Pete at the time was coaching. He came and watched and obviously would like what he saw and gave me a call and ended up extending a visit offer, so I came on my visit and ended up liking it. And so yeah, that's how I found out about St. Mary's.
And how about we joked with Coach Bowers about the winters. How do you like the Minnesota winters?
I personally am not a fan of the winters, but I mean I love the school enough to stay here. So that's what I like to say about that. But the winter was that was an adjustment for sure.
Now I got to find out too. A lot of times I'll go to these late October games, and you're all out there in shorts, and it's like down into the 40s at night. Does that affect you much, or don't you think about it when you're out there?
Yeah, personally, it doesn't really affect me, which is kind of weird coming from a kid from Arizona. But I'm kind of weird in the sense where I can't play with an Under Armour, like anything under my like short sleeve jersey, and it makes me too uncomfortable. So the first thing I throw on is a pair of gloves, which looks kind of ridiculous when you're wearing short sleeve and gloves. But personally, I don't like it in the sense to where I won't use like long sleeves. But the cold doesn't really affect you because adrenaline, you're not really focusing on the weather.
I like having these weird guys
Absolutely.
on the show.
Nothing wrong with that.
Ratings, and we get all these great stories.
That's right. Sean, can you kind of walk us through, as we've mentioned a couple times now, you're a senior, can you kind of walk through your progression from, you know, the innocent freshman who has no idea what's going on in Minnesota to where you're at now as a soccer player? I had mentioned, you know, off camera, you've had an outstanding senior season, but really you've been part of this program now for 4 years and an integral part. Talk about that progression from freshman to senior.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had a different role on the team every year. Freshman year I came in, like you said, honestly a different player. I was a lot more laid back in a sense to where I was just kind of there. I was learning the ropes. I was more of a defensive player when I was taken in by Coach Pete. Played more man-marking role. If they had a player that was specifically dangerous, I had to follow him around. Kind of was what I had to do. Sophomore year, I came in with a little better, more of a leadership role. I ended up getting voted in as captain, which was nice from my teammates. It felt good for me. So I had that leadership, but I was still kind of that defensive player. I suppose my junior year, still on defense, but also had an attacking mind, so I got to go up a lot. As long as I got back, I didn't get yelled at too much. But so yeah, I had more of that offensive role, but still that leadership. Last year, my junior year, was more of when I took over that leadership role. And then senior year, obviously this year, now I've moved to forward, definitely attacking minded, and more of the leadership role. But it's a little easier this year with my leadership role. I can actually kind of lay back a little bit and have people like Jared Wolt, Garrett Grunke, and other leaders on the team, you know, take over a little bit, and I can delegate a lot more and have other leaders step in with me.
Well, the success on the field has certainly been there. Last year, honorable mention all-conference. This year, you've already been conference athlete of the week. You've got 5 goals on the season. So, you know, certainly tell us about what your expectations coming into this year were, and if you've been able to meet those, just so for some of your individual goals.
Absolutely. When I came in, a lot of people call it kind of like maybe over the top. I came in with the intention of being MIAC Player of the Year. I came in with those high hopes because in my head, if you're not shooting for those high hopes, you're not going to go anywhere near it. Mm-hmm. So with my intentions, obviously I started off fine with that, and then with about, I think, around game 5 or 6 after Thomas is when it started to die off a little bit. Teams started to know me a little better after watching film. And I kind of struggled for a little bit, but right now I'm kind of getting back on track with that.
You know, soccer is so much a game of playing with confidence. And you know, as I asked Coach Bowers, and I'm going to ask you the same question, in that when you were 4-0, everything's great, everything's rosy, and it's like nothing can go wrong. Mm. And then all of a sudden you start losing a few games, and the frustration level builds. You have lots of scoring, not you yourself, but the team has lots of scoring opportunities that you don't cash in on, a little frustration. How important from a senior role and the rest of your seniors is it to make sure that you do stay on that even keel and realize that, you know what, we're going to be okay, and now you're on a 2-game winning streak heading into St. John's on Friday? How do you do that?
Oh, it was absolutely difficult, especially with what we've had in years prior. It was a little different where the seniors and other people didn't really handle it too well. So hopes were really down. As opposed to this year, everyone kind of stayed positive, and everyone kind of, during the games there was some bickering and stuff like that. Off the field, we figured it out right away. That was a different thing. we got together and hung out off the field as a collective unit, and we really collectively worked well together off the field. And as a senior, being able to be one of the ones to lead that showed a lot of difference in what we've had years prior, and it worked out really well for us.
You know, and we had talked about the individual goals earlier, but soccer, of course, is such a team sport. And Coach Bowers talked about some of the team goals earlier, and the MIAC conference, just one of the best in all of Division III. So your experience playing in the conference, and then maybe addressing what Coach Bowers talked about as some of the team goals.
Yeah, so the conference itself, like you said, very difficult, very physical, very fast. Honestly, some of the best soccer I've seen in my life. Personally, I can attest to, we've always had the same goals, make the playoffs, all that stuff. I think this is the first year where every single player has bought into it. Everyone wants to make the playoffs, and everyone's doing the little things to make the playoffs. Obviously, after that, as a team, we want to get those individual awards, but that only comes with the team doing well together. If we do well together, then those individual awards are going to come. More importantly, after the playoffs, if we're lucky enough to get there, you know, maybe capitalizing on that. Who knows? Maybe the NCAA tournament. That'd be fun.
Now, Donny always has a few surprise questions for our athletes.
Okay.
We'll get to those in a second, but I do want to touch on your business intelligence and analytics major at St. Mary's. Tell us why you got into that and what you hope to do with it in the future.
Yeah, I actually wanted to do computer science going into college. My senior year of high school, I decided I want to do something in the IT field. Originally, it was computer science, and then actually that changed when I came to St. Mary's on my visit. Professor Ratajcek was talking to me about how this program is up and coming, all that stuff, and he's really good at talking about it. He let me know the options after college and all this different stuff. So specifically, I want to do like business analysis or data analytics in general. For me, specifically, if I could, a sports franchise, and it's something that I would be able to do that I would love. So I think it'd be more fun.
Well, the first question I have is probably the hardest, since I am a Twins fan and they did lose 8-4 last night. So I'm going to give you your 15 seconds of gloating because I know that you are a Yankees fan.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about last night's game.
I mean, honestly, I was doing homework while it was going on, but I actually, on my game, on my laptop, I had it streamed on the side, so I kept going back and checking the score, and then my girlfriend was in the room too, and she was talking because she's a Twins fan, and so every time I'd check it, like, oh no, and I'd be like, oh, they're winning with this many outs left and all that stuff, so she didn't like that, but it was kind of funny.
If you needed to have one piece of advice from Derek Jeter, what would that be?
How to probably manage a leadership role in such a stage he had it. Specifically with him, like to get the role as the captain, that's massive. He got it from a whole sports perspective, let alone his sport individually. So I think that would be my first question, is how do you manage to do that?
One of the people that defensively we haven't talked a ton about, but really deserves a lot of accolades, Jared Wolt. One of the things that nobody knows how much you're afraid of, being in a room with Jared Wolt. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
So, I mean, Jared and I are really good friends. He, I don't know, we were just kind of sitting next to each other, so I thought it was funny to put that down because me and him, whenever we're in the same room, we'll make jokes and like bicker at each other, and it's just something that's kind of funny. So sometimes he'll come up with something that's funnier than I do, so that's kind of why I'm scared to sit in the same room with him because he'll make fun of me.
So, Sean, we have a surprise for you. Jared Wolt is out in... No, he's really not. He's really not. So we're out of time for this segment of the Cardinals Nest. Sean Butcher, best of luck here on the rest of the season and senior graduation this year, too.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, stay tuned. Donnie and I will be right back on the Cardinals Nest on HBC.
Pick your channels, not your nose. With HBC's Essentials Plus, pick and choose the channel packs of your choice without getting your fingers dirty.
The Big 12 is not for the weak. You face Red River shootouts and destructive cyclones, with Cowboys and Longhorns ready to take you down. Every week you fight or surrender. Win or lose, you do. Or you don't. There is no other choice.
And now the new wrinkle. Oh, look at this prince. prancing from Lady Poodle, which goes into a conga line. Amazing, amazing. And now the new wrinkle. Oh, look at this prancing from Lady Poodle, which goes into a conga line.
Play, pause, rewind. Record now and watch on your schedule. Never miss out on your favorite shows. Free DVR service and equipment is included in all GigaWorld packages.
In the Pac-12, it's all about the fight. The enemy has a beat on you, so you bear down with clenched teeth. Without warning, you unleash a stampede. You fight for your pride. You fight for your colors. You fight on to live another day.
And we're back here to wrap up this segment of the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Thanks for watching, and a lot of other action going on with all of our other St. Mary's sports teams. We just had on the coach and a player from the men's soccer team, Donny. Women's soccer team also sort of in the middle part of their season.
Yeah, they are right about in the middle, and talk about a hard luck team right now. They lost a heartbreaker to Bethel last Wednesday 2-1, and then they lost to St. Kate's 3-1 last Saturday on 1-1 going into the second half, and a pair of own goals cost them 2 goals, and they come out on the short end there. But they're playing very well. They really just need to, as Coach Cassidy says, they need to get a break. And I think once they get a break, I hope the floodgates will open and they'll start playing with a little bit of confidence and get things rolling here. A lot of soccer left to be played.
Yep, and you know, last weekend it was family weekend at St. Mary's. We had so many people on campus, and a couple of really packed volleyball games because they had 2 home matches last week.
Yeah, it was fun to have them at home. It's great. Volleyball team is playing very well. Had some outstanding action. They lost a tough one to St. Ben's 3-0 last Friday and turned around and swept Concordia 3-0 the following day. Just like both soccer teams, they had this week off, a little bit of a break for them. They're back in action on Friday against Carleton, again at home, which is a nice. They're in a nice stretch right now of playing some home matches and playing very well. They're right in the thick of the playoff chase, and hopefully as the weeks progress, we'll be talking playoff action for them.
Now, last week on the program, we had on the golf program, the coach and a player, and so they had the MIAC championships last weekend. And from what I could tell, Donny, from what I read, from what you wrote, they did really well.
Yeah, they did. We continue that Cardinals Nest, not jinx, but yeah, and an outstanding performance from them. They finished 7th as a team. First time since 2008 that they've been higher than 8th, so it was a great stepping stone for them. A lot of outstanding individual performances. Hunter Rao had 3 really solid rounds to lead the way for the Cardinals, going 77, 77, 75. You've got to give Tyler Dove some credit. He had a 69 on the final day, 3 under par in really less than ideal conditions. It was a little rainy up in Jordan, but a 69, 1 shot off of the school record, and the second lowest round of the tournament. So great from a freshman's point of view. You got Hunter as a senior, kind of going out as the leader, and then you got Hunter as the freshman, or Tyler as a freshman coming in, shooting that final round 69. Outstanding performance all the way around.
And then finally, Donny, I see Ward Barrett has the cross-country team running all over campus.
Yeah, he does.
Working them hard.
He really is, and they've got a big meet this weekend next weekend at the UWL Jim Drews, Tori Neubauer, Jim Drews Invitational. So that's a big one for them as they get ready for the conference championships, which is hard to believe is right around the corner for them. And they're doing very well. They've Austin O'Hare and Danielle Frankie have been doing outstanding as the leaders, and hopefully they can continue to improve those times as the next couple of weeks wear on, and we're talking good things at the MIC Championships.
Yep. While all that's going on, the baseball, softball teams over family weekend had their final fall ball scrimmages, so that was a lot of fun. And I know Coach Jen Miller of the softball team, she's really busy getting that forest ready for the Haunted Forest here at the end of the month. We'll tell you more about that on upcoming episodes of the Cardinals Nest. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. For Donny Nadeau, I'm Dean Beckman, the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25.